Hi everyone, welcome back to the new episode of eCom 365. I'm co-founder and CEO of ShopAgain.io. As you already know, in eCom 365, we try to answer the challenges that e-commerce businesses and marketers face. For this episode, I have a special guest with me. Chad created an e-commerce business starting with just $3,000 and got it to the $1 million sales in 12 months. One interesting fact, Chad used to donate a portion of the sales and his brand funded the surgeries of a bunch of pets with cancer, which was of course very appreciated, and it also exploded the organic reach of the brand. Thanks for joining us, Chad. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing all right. Thanks for being here. Tell us the story of how did you come up with that and how did your journey start?
Thanks for having me on the podcast. Yeah, I got into e-commerce by accident, I suppose. I was a realtor back in the day. Didn't really love that job. So I stumbled across some podcasts and hearing other people's success stories about how they built their own $1 million brands from scratch. At first, it sounded like one of those things that was some scam or too good to be true or something like that. But as I just listened to more and more interviews like this, frankly, of other people's success, I had the realization of, wow, lots of people from lots of different walks of life have all been able to build their own brands, leveraging the power of e-commerce, of Amazon, of Shopify, and all of that, and have a seven-figure million plus exits. And I developed the mindset, okay, if they can do it, why can't I? There's no reason I can't. So that kind of got me to jump into this. I knew I wanted to do something in e-commerce, and I have two French bulldogs. Their names are Brock and Beast, and they're my little buddies, and a lot of my life seems to revolve around these two dogs. So I think I wanted to create some sort of brand based around them. So I made a pet supplies company, largely organically based around my own dogs and their needs. Of course, I did market research and all of that too, but I launched a brand that I was really passionate about, grew an audience, which I think is a more than very important, a vital thing to do nowadays to have a successful brand. I think we're well past the time when you can just successfully launch or reliably just launch a product without an audience and just run ads to it and hope for the best. Like, you want to build a community. So I built a passionate community of pet owners who see their pets as part of their family and not just an animal, and was able to build like a large group and all of that, and then could launch products to that audience. Built an audience, spoke to that audience's beliefs, and released a product with a clear differentiating factor. Got that product up to, probably 40 sales a day, and then released product number 2 within that same audience, and built the snowball. Got up to 6 products. So it was a relatively small brand, but just 6 products, and then was able to sell it for over 7 figures because an investor just wanted a strong brand like that they could grow. Yeah, that was kind of my story. And the power is in building a brand that speaks specific person's beliefs, and there's a lot of strategies on how to do that, but it's a very different business model than just looking up, okay, I can source this product for $3 and sell it for 15, and it's more than just a numbers game. You've got to build a strong brand that people emotionally buy into and really care about.
This is a very interesting take on building a brand. So you focused on building a passionate community first, and the brand came after that. Tell us more about how you build this passionate community of people around your brand.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify that you can have short-term on just running the numbers, and I'm going to find something I can source cheap and then resell it. But then you're just in a waiting game for some competitor to come in and sell it for 50 cents cheaper than you. It's just a race to the bottom. Whereas if you have a brand that people are passionate about, that can last years. And that's something that an investor will pay a higher dollar amount for. And yeah, so you mentioned like my audience and how the audience came before the brand. The audience is part of the brand. Like, they're connected. So you define your person first, like you define who your audience is going to, then you get in front of those people, and then you release products to those people. That's the plan. We built a Facebook group largely around just the idea that pets are part of the family, all sharing stories about how our pets are like our kids. I literally had a Facebook ad that was as simple as it can get. It was a picture of my 2 dogs. And it's, do you feel like your pets are part of your family like our page? That was a good ad that got our initial people in the group. We had a strong charity mission with our brand. I think you alluded to at the beginning of our podcast. That good on a charitable level, but also from a business standpoint. What we would do is we'd donate a portion of our sales to pets with cancer. So it wasn't like, hey, buy from us because we donate to charity, because frankly, nobody cares about that because it's not specific. There is a huge difference in saying, when you buy with us, we donate a portion of our sales to Pets with Cancer, versus, hey, when you buy with us, we are currently funding the cancer treatment of this dog named Brutus. Here's a picture of Brutus. He needs X number of dollars to fund his surgery. We're donating a certain part of your sale. When you send in a photo of your pet with the product you purchased, we're going to donate $1 to Brutus's fundraiser thing. And getting hyper specific and hyper personal with it is such a more powerful thing than just on the other side, oh, we're good people, we donate to charity. It's like nobody cares about that. They care about what they can specifically relate to. So that was the thing that really got our audience rallied behind our brand on a charitable level, because we donated, I don't know the exact number, but tens of thousands of dollars to these kind of fundraising things over the course of the business. And people would get so strongly behind our brand because they'd send in a photo of one of my products along with their dog. And I had an assistant that would put together a photo montage of their dog and the specific dog that we're donating to from the proceeds of their sale, and send it back like, your dog is helping Brutus or whoever. And they were just always blown away by that. They'd share it on their social media. Their friends would, their social media followers, oh, wow, this brand is so cool. I want to see what they're up to. And we got so much user-generated content, so many positive reviews, and so much positive word of mouth because of what we stood for as a brand, both that pets are part of the family, but also the charity thing. And that made people want to buy from our company because of what the company stood for. And like that gives you a certain, as a business, gives you a certain amount of strength that some competitor can't come in and wipe you out because people are in love with the brand.
That's an absolutely brilliant point, Chad. I see so many stores aligning themselves with charity, but they do exactly what you suggested. Not, we are aligned with this charity, so buy from us. And that's where it stops. But the way you took it forward and way you personalized the contributions to charity by picking individual examples with real pictures, that's absolutely brilliant. And I can see why it clearly worked for you.
Because people don't emotionally resonate with just something they can't see. You don't know if donated is just going to their fundraising campaign or going to administrative overhead or you're paying an electrical bill. Like people, but if you can see the good you're doing, then like good, caring people really care about that and buy into that. That's why personalizing the marketing of your products, it's like my company was like, hey, we create healthy, great products for your dog because we believe, like you believe, that your pets are part of the family. And if you're one of those people that your dog lives in the shed out back and you think it's silly to think that pets are part of the family, don't buy from us. We're not your company. Like, you're not our customer. We don't want you. So we purposely alienate some people to get the passionate people who believe what we believe. Because when you can rally an audience behind a brand on an emotional level, they will buy from you over and over. They will tell people about you. They will do what they can to support you. And it's such a powerful aspect of marketing that isn't BS. It isn't just marketing speeches. We really do stand for these things. We really do donate to these charities and create a social good in these ways. And yeah, the right customers like really rally behind that. And then you can scale pretty quick, make a lot of money and do a lot of good in the world at the same time. And I think that is the key. You want to, like, everybody who's listening to this podcast is an entrepreneur. They want to make money. Some people have this thing of, hey, you can't do good and make money at the same time. And that's nonsense. You can and should get rich and make the world a better place at the same time. Those two things, if you have the right mindset and heart, like those two things should work together.
Absolutely. In fact, there is one more category of people who thinks when I become rich, then I'm going to make the world a better place. And what you said is you can do both together at the same time. And why not, make it a part of your mission?
Yeah. I totally on board with that. I like that a lot and think that's the way to, and I think people want to support companies and brands that do that authentically. People can smell BS, but if you act authentically and operate in that way, I think rally behind your brand and you'll do good in the world, but you'll also become more successful yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I often hear you saying, Chad, that a brand of complementary products is much stronger than a mix of unrelated, hard selling products.
100%.
Could you tell us more about that?
If you're building an audience that you can launch products to, you want them to all buy the same things. If my first product was a dog dental product and my second product was, I don't know, a skateboard for teenagers, like these are not the same person that you're selling it to. I don't mean to, with anybody's intelligence, this is obvious, but if you build a strong audience of like people who bought product one are likely the same people who are going to buy product two. And then when they love both of those, they're going to be on the waiting list for product number three. That is a very successful brand. And that's something investors look for. Like I said, if you're just looking for short-term cash flow for a year or something, like you can do some wholesaling or drop shipping or something like that. And you can, but if you want a big profitable brand that an investor is going to want to acquire and pay you top dollar for, you need a cohesive brand message targeted to one audience that is full of all the same people who are going to buy all of your products, whether it's a pet supplies brand or like a coffee brand. Like you see this even within different products. Like coffee brands are a good example. Like half your listeners are going to hate this coffee brand, the other half are going to like it. But there's a coffee brand called Black Rifle Coffee Company. It's just normal coffee. Their product is literally no different than any other coffee brand you could buy, but they market exclusively and probably offensively so only to conservative gun-owning men. Like all their messaging is, hey, we're not liberal Starbucks, blah, blah, blah. Here's me with an AK-47. Like it's all this over-the-top stuff, but it's identity marketing and it works because the people who resonate with that message are going to buy all of Black Rifle Coffee Company's stuff. And their main thing is, hey, we're not liberal Starbucks. And when you can create a brand like that of complementary products, when the people who bought product one are going to buy product two, they're on the waiting list for product three, they love your products, are going to be the first ones to leave you positive reviews. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
And I'll give another kind of tactical tip. I understand if somebody's just buying or starting their new business now, they probably don't have the cash flow yet to do this with their first product launch. But what I did on product, I don't know if it's three, but for the rest of my brand, what I would do is like with the charity mission. So when I went to launch a new product, I had this audience built up and I would message my audience, okay, we've got a new product, a dog ear cleaner or whatever, coming out in weeks. The first 100 or first 200 sales, we're not going to take a penny of the profit. We are donating all profit from, let's say, the first 100 sales to fund this and this Pets with Cancer's treatment. All of you people that believe in that, the first 100 sales, all the profits go in there. And then people be like lining up to buy my first 100 units. All the profit would go there. You got to believe like we're getting tons of positive reviews, 5-star reviews on Amazon and all of that in a white hat way, nothing breaking any rules, just because they believe in our mission and want to support it. People will buy our product at full price, leave positive reviews. Yeah, we lose money on the first 100 sales, but that's nothing in the long term because we get Amazon keyword ranking. So we get so many more organic sales. We've got a base of positive reviews and you make that money back very quickly.
Yeah. And one thing to notice here in your approach is that everything you did, right from the messaging to build the audience, the way you went about building the products, aligning yourself to a charity, and even this, the part that you just told, first 100 sales going to that charity, it all comes together with the same aim, your passion, your love for your pets, and to the community of similar people that all of you are people put together are trying for the same goal.
Yeah. Shared belief with your audience is a good thing, is a powerful thing.
Absolutely. One challenge I often see the store owners facing is that up to a point, they do everything themselves. And then they find it hard to move from this role of manager to the role of owner by delegating tasks. How could they do it better? Tell us about that.
So, I mean, us entrepreneurs, I think, have a tendency to micromanage a little bit, because it is true that no one that you hire or delegate to is going to care about your brand as much as you do. That's just an inescapable fact. But they could do it better than you or do certain things. Like something that I delegated. So I built and scaled and sold a 7-figure brand largely using Amazon. And I never did Amazon PPC because I could learn that. I would care about it more than somebody else, but I'm not going to be as good at that as like an agency that knows what they're doing. So that was the first thing I dealt. Then later on, you start to delegate things like a delegated customer service, but I did it very carefully. I had scripts and SOPs in place. And I think very importantly, an overarching rule, I told my assistants, I was like, hey, number one rule, and I got this from the book, The 4-Hour Workweek. If anybody hasn't read that fantastic book, the title is a little clickbaity, admittedly, but The 4-Hour Workweek is a great book that has a lot of tips in it for productivity. But one thing I learned from that I would tell my assistants is I'd like, hey, number one priority here is keep the customer happy. If you can solve any problem they're having for less than $100, here's an authorized credit card. You have my written authority. So we're going to review this every 2 weeks. If we find that we need to make some adjustments, we will. But I'd gladly pay $100 to avoid a 1-star review and just keep the customer happy. Even if they're unreasonable, even if they're whatever, keep the customer happy. I had SOPs in place. Now, most of our customers were great people and they believed in our mission and they're not looking to be a pain or anything like that. But when delegating customer service, make sure you don't just hire some untrained VA that's using someone else's scripts or something like that. It needs to be personal. It needs to be in your brand's voice. But there are a lot of things that you can delegate. Agencies are a good way to do this because you don't want to be entirely reliant on one person. And if they call in sick or something, God forbid, bad happens to them, that your whole business goes under. This is a guy, his name is Ryan Moran, who's a really smart guy. He wrote a book called 12 Months to 1 Million that I think is definitely worth reading. But the idea behind the owner's model is like the brand owner should cast the vision for the brand, should make sure the brand has funding, and should bring the right people into place. It's like if you can carve out a little bit of equity in your brand and give X% of equity to someone else to handle this, and X% of some equity for someone else to handle that, like you can still have a very successful business that's very profitable. Jeff Bezos owns like 15% of Amazon and Elon Musk owns like 20% of Tesla. You need to own the whole thing. I think in a small business, you want to maintain control of most of it. But if you keep 70 to 80% of the ownership, but are able to exchange equity for services in other ways for people that are also bought in, like that can be a powerful way to grow your brand as well. But yeah, the brand owner should focus on the 80-20 principle. What are the 20% of things that you as the brand owner can do, bring 80% of the results? Don't waste your time on time-consuming tasks that you can and should delegate to someone else. It's my long-winded way of.
Thanks for sharing that, Chad. One question I want to ask you at the end, where did you mess up? In hindsight, what do you wish that you would have done differently?
Yeah, I've got a very clear thing on this. I did not, and it's because I didn't delegate. I did not do a good of follow-up email marketing to my list. I did a great job bringing people to the list. We had the initial charity aspect. We'd keep people updated on the charity progress, but I hugely dropped the ball on, I wasn't great at email marketing. And for some crazy reason, I had it on my to-do list forever until I sold the brand.
So you were not alone in that, Chad. That's very common. All of us business owners have got a to-do list, and some items they keep moving from one list to other list to the third list. So I'm with you on that.
That's the important thing. Like, you don't need to do that yourself. It's like I just left money on the table by not letting somebody else do it for me.
One final question more, Chad. How did you know when it was time to sell the company as opposed to growing it more?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I still to this day don't know if I made the right choice. So I've got a buddy who we built our businesses together. We're like accountability partners, for lack of a better term. I sold mine for once I could get a good 7-figure payday. He kept his for another couple of years, and he's going to sell his for 8 figures. So part of me is wondering, had I held on to it for 2 more years, I could have had an 8-figure exit, which would have been even better. But I'm happy. I think I'm happy I sold when I did. But to answer your question, how I made that decision, I sold when I knew I could get enough money where if I invested it properly, I could quote unquote retire. And I'm not out buying Lambos and yachts, but like I have a pretty good lifestyle, and I was able to invest the money in a way that I don't have to work anymore if I don't want to. It just, my bills are paid through investments. And that gave me, that was my quote unquote freedom number, where it's like, I never have to have a boss again. It came down to was getting a little burnout, and I sold it for once I could get enough money to buy me the lifestyle of freedom that I always wanted. And I can always build another company. I like to
Absolutely.
now on consulting and all of that. But if I want to create another company, I've got the skill set and the experience, and I know I can do it. But again, I'm not entirely sure I made the right choice selling what I did, but it got me the lifestyle that I enjoy.
And even the confidence from you and from the even investor, if you want to bring in future, that you've been there, done that, and you've seen the success, so people know what you can get and the drill.
Yeah, and one thing I'd throw out there for your audience is, if you have the right mindset, other people's success is not something to be intimidated by. It is proof that you can do it. It is evidence for your future success. And that is such an important mindset shift. Like, I am a normal guy. The other people that I know that have built 7, even 8-figure businesses, normal guys and girls, nothing like hugely special about them. Like the podcast that I mentioned earlier that I listened to years ago that got me into this, it was like, okay, this random dude like this random grandma who was a real, like, all of these people had followed a plan and built a business. And the plan is pretty simple. It's define the person you want to sell to, build an audience of them, and launch products to them that serve their needs and speak to their values. I don't want to say anybody can do it, but most people can do this. Like, if you're an entrepreneur far and you're dedicated enough where you're listening to podcasts, so if you're hearing this, you can do it. My success is evidence you can do it. Other people's success is evidence that you can do it. Just think of it that way. Don't think of it as, oh, this person had this advantage or whatever. It's people from all different races, ages, genders, whatever, have all done this. The internet and e-commerce is as close to a level playing field as has ever existed in human history. If you have a laptop and access to the internet and a little bit of money, I mentioned I started my business with $3,000. Like, you can become a self-made millionaire. And just as an encouragement, like, you can do it. I know people from every walk of life personally who've become self-made millionaires. It's like, we live in a pretty cool time in human history where that is possible. That would not have been true 20 years ago.
Thank you for joining us, Chad.
Thank
Finally,
you.
to our viewers, if you have any questions about e-commerce, paid acquisition, marketing, retention, or development, email us at ecom365@shopagain.io, and we will have them answered by an expert in the future episodes. This episode was sponsored by ShopAgain.io, an AI-powered customer retention platform. Thank you for joining us, guys.